recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. 455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right part to keep your vehicle running. And backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.
Carol made me do it.
All right, good evening. Are we on?
I don't think we're on.
Summer, can we get the mics turned on?
Timothy's
Mic check.
turned on.
I can hear you, sir.
Well, that's nice. Okay.
I think they're on.
All right. Okay. It is, I got 6:09, and I will call the regular regular session to order. I appreciate all of you waiting around for us. We apologize for the delay, but there's just a lot going on, and when we go into executive session, it's to go over legal issues and competitive issues. So we apologize for the delay. Let the record reflect that all council members are present with the exception of Tim. Oh, he's on there, okay, because he's out of the city, and our city attorney is also on Zoom. He found out just prior to the meeting that he had associated with somebody that had tested positive, and even though he's had his shots, we still have to follow the rules, so he's going to join us on there. The first item will be the invocation, and that'll be Pastor Tyler Inglet. If I mispronounce that, I apologize. From the Family Fellowship Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So please, Pastor.
Let's pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer. We just thank you so much for this time to come together and have conversations about our city. Lord, I pray you be with each person here. Lord, give them clarity, a sound mind. Lord, let them keep our people at the forefront of their mind, Lord, and that you are at the forefront of our minds today. In Christ, let me pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we don't have any presentations, so the next item would be the citizens to be heard. Citizens to be heard are invited to address the council on topics not already scheduled for a public hearing or listed on the agenda. Please have your citizens' comment card already to the city secretary. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes and should conduct themselves in a civil manner. The city council cannot act on items not listed on the agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. Concerns will be addressed by the city staff. They may be placed on future agenda or addressed by some other course of response. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and your address. First item is item 6A. Consideration and action on an ordinance authorizing an FY 2020-2021 budget amendment for the grant match / L3 Harris for crushed concrete by Big City Crushed Concrete. Press?
Since to be heard.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Just moving right down. I can read right through it. We have citizens to be heard. Who do we have?
John Turner.
I just said you would get to. I didn't say now, but
I wasn't going to say anything, but I just have a couple of comments.
Your name
I'm
and
John
address.
Turner. I live at
I know you're new
3702
here.
Pepperport Drive, Greenville, Texas. And I have just a couple of comments. I would like to publicly thank Summer and Press for getting those dangerous places fixed on Ridgecrest Road. And also, last time I was up here, I mentioned the wreaths across America, invited anyone out to help us clean up the wreaths. And I would publicly like to thank Mr. Cedric Dean for coming out. I actually saw him work. So I'd just like to thank him and show appreciation for him.
Be nice on it.
That's all I have. Thank you.
thank you.
Aliyah Powell.
Ilea Powell for 6721 Flamingo. So good evening. I'm asking that ordinance number 21-002 for our new Specs Liquor Store be added to our February 9th City Council agenda for amendment. Currently, Specs Liquor is practicing outside of the established industry guidelines for alcohol marketing and advertising that is monitored by the FTC. Setting opinions aside, here are the facts. In 2003, the FTC presented their report to Congress that updates and guidelines on alcohol marketing and advertising. There was an additional 2014 report that left the pertinent information cited here in reference to marketing to minors unchanged. The concern of Specs Liquor using a cartoon bunny on their storefront signage, the most permanent form of advertising for a retail store, is addressed on page B-1 of Appendix B in the 2003 report. I provided this information to all of you and the full reports in an email on January 20th, 2021. Under the section titled Responsible Content, specifically pertinent is item number 3. It reads, distilled spirits advertising and marketing materials should not depict children or portray objects, images, or cartoon figures that are popular predominantly with children. We can welcome Specs to town while requiring appropriate signage. That the narrative that in asking Specs to use their alternate signage would risk the store not moving to town is false. Specs representative was in attendance at the Planning and Zoning meeting on January 11th. In no uncertain terms, he stated that Specs had no problem with leaving the logo off their sign, as they have at 37 other locations. Myself, along with the other 367 petition signees, are not asking Specs to change their logo. We are asking that they forego the use of it at their Greenville location, again, as they have done at 37 locations. We are asking that the children of our community not be willfully subjected to the irresponsible marketing that could appeal to children, potentially conditioning them with positive expectancies of alcohol. The FTC reports have clear guidelines on what type of marketing is to be used and specifically says no cartoon characters. Now that it is known and clear that this company has been practicing outside of their own industry guidelines, why would we allow the inappropriate part of the signage in our town? How do we turn a blind eye to that? As you know, freedom of speech is vastly different than commercial speech. I'm asking that council be prudent and stand up for our youngest citizens, welcome the new business to town, but with care. We can amend the spec CUP now with appropriate signage rules before they've spent any money on their sign. The needed amendment for the sign caveat can be made to the ordinance at the next city council meeting. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Dave Powell.
Good evening.
Dave Powell, representing 6721 Flamingo. Thank you all for the opportunity to be heard this evening regarding the cartoon bunny sign specs intends to use. Thank you also to those of you that responded to my wife's emails and phone calls, numerous ones this week. I appreciate that those of you responsive, and I think that shows a strong leadership in your positions. Regarding the approved signage, I want to say just a couple of things. While researching the company, Specs, that was established in 1962 by a guy named Speck because of his glasses, I ran across an article about the bunny on the sign. This is not going where you think it is, maybe. One of the things that hasn't changed, I'm going to read you part of that article. One of the things that hasn't changed at Specs' flagship and original store is the bunny sign out front. The neon representation of the company logo features an eyeglass wearing rabbit in a bow tie and red jacket waving a flag. To some, it may seem a little odd, but according to John Ridman, who's the owner of Specs now, it was really just a reflection of Spec Jackson's sense of humor. He was looking for some kind of character or logo that could be associated with the store. Ridman explained it was in the spring, and one of the liquor industry trade magazines had a bunny on the cover because it was Easter. My father-in-law, Mr. Speck, who doesn't like bunnies, was his question. And he had somebody draw it up today. That is a registered trademark of that company. It doesn't sound all that bad. He doesn't sound like a bad guy. I don't think in 1962 he was targeting children to come drink alcohol. But here's the problem. Times have changed and we have to keep up. There's valid research, unreputable industry guidelines that warn against and advise against the use of cartoon characters because it is appealing to children. And make no mistake, it does appeal to children, and it does contribute to earlier exposure to alcohol during formative years. No longer 1960, 1970, 1980, none of that. When this sort of thing was acceptable, you all know better than that. Chuck E. Cheese uses a mouse as a brand mascot. Kellogg's on Frosted Flakes uses a tiger as a brand mascot, and Chick-fil-A uses a cow. Those are legal products to sell to children in this country and in this city. Specs Liquor uses a cartoon bunny as a brand mascot to sell liquor, a product that is illegal to children. This is not an issue about being anti-business, it's about being pro-children. I'm requesting this body govern with all that in mind. Add this issue to your next scheduled meeting to remove the bunny rabbit from the sign. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No more.
Okay. This time I'll close the citizens to be heard, and now try item 6A. Consideration action on an ordinance authorizing the FY 2020-2021 budget amendment for the grant match / L3 Harris for crushed concrete by Big City Crushed Concrete. Press.
Yes, sir. Thank you. What we talked about, there was a lot of broken up concrete at L3 at the north end of the airport, which was starting to cause a hazard for the airplanes with all the predator animals and all that have taken up occupancy in it. So we kind of put our heads together and tried to figure out what's the best way to get rid of that concrete rather than hauling it to a landfill and just dumping it. So we were able to get with Big City Crushing Concrete out of the Dallas area. And what they said was they could come in, set up a crushing site, and we would take the crushed concrete and use it for road-based material. And they're able to give us, to do the concrete crushing, separation, different types of stone we want for a cost of $10 a ton. Right now, we're paying in excess of $21 a ton to buy the material. We got with L3 Harris, we got with Greg at GBOD, and we were able to secure some of their property at the north end of the runway, outside the secured area. It was ideal for us to put a concrete crusher there to get all that excess concrete from the airport right to that site, crush it up, store it there, and then we can use it for road base. L3 Harris actually contributed $200,000 towards this operation. And so we're asking for basically a budget amendment to accept that $200,000 into our budget as unanticipated revenue, and then be able to use it in our concrete crushing activity. So that's what we're here tonight for, to ask permission to do that. It will save the city a lot of money for flex-based material. It'll be readily available to us, and I think that it's a win-win for everybody in this situation.
Just to expand on the whole project, there was a study done out at the airport, and it identified that there was a lot of concrete that's at the north end of the airfield, and it's been there for well over 20 years, I think, and the environmentalists said, you know, you really got to do something there. It was put there to prevent the erosion or to curb the erosion, which it's done very good. The problem is wild animals and mainly birds have gotten in there, and as you're making an approach on a runway, you don't want the sky to fill with birds. So you're trying to get rid of them, and to do that, you've got to tear this up. So it's a factor of originally the thought was pick it up, get it out of there, haul it off someplace, and then figure out what you're going to do with it. Press came up with the idea that what if we crushed it and used the crushed concrete so that we could go ahead and use that for road bases and stuff. L3 thought it was a good idea, and they've offered up $200,000 to help cover the cost of that. Is that?
That is correct.
So, anybody have a question for? Go ahead.
Press, would this crusher setup or anything create any noise or dust or environmental issues for the surrounding area, or will it be pretty much self-contained? I'm thinking PTAA school.
We went through that. We actually have a TCEQ permit that meets all the requirements for distance, noise, dust, and all like that. That's a 10-year permit we have for this site that we secured. So we analyze all the required distances away from the schools, residents, because of there'll be some dust, but not much. Noise would be minimal at the distance we're from. So we've met all the criteria for TCEQ for a concrete crushing site.
Any other questions? Thank you, Press.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I will open it up for public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on this?
John Kelso.
John Kelso, 6005 Horn Drive, Greenville, 75402. I only have 3 minutes. I have a lot of questions. Probably won't be able to get through all of them in 3 minutes, so I'm going to talk real fast.
3 minutes.
If I understand public hearings properly, it's our opportunity to tell you our concerns, ask questions, receive answers. So I certainly hope tonight that that's the spirit of a public hearing, that we'll receive answers on our questions before you take action on this and vote on it. One of the questions, it sounds like we're paying $200,000 to get $10 a ton. That's 20,000 tons. What if you have more than 20,000 tons of concrete? Is it 200,000 cover it? What if you have less than 20,000 tons of concrete? You still going to pay 200,000? If you have less than 20 tons for them to crush, are you going to accept concrete from other municipalities and cities in the area? We do not, public concern. He's already admitted this is going to throw particulates up into the air. Breathe them in, it'll cause cancer. We're talking about silicon, we're talking silica, we're talking about sand, we're talking about concrete. That's not good to have in the air. In less than a half a mile, there's two schools within this area. There's 300 housing development going in that you guys have approved, less than a half a mile from this. So is this permanent or temporary? when I filled out the forms for the TCQ, whatever it is, received a phone call and was told a lot of the reason for this was a lot of concrete coming off stone wall reconstruction and sail reconstruction. We got to do something with all that concrete. Haven't heard anything about that in what I read in the agenda. So, I mean, how much concrete, is it simply just this concrete that's a problem at the airport, or is it any concrete we come up with in the next 10 years, you're going to crush it? Will they be crushing concrete 24/7, for the next 10 years? That's too much. We don't want all that particulate up with our kids breathing that stuff in. So these are questions. What are you going to do to ensure, how can you guarantee that he won't crush more and throw more particulate into the air than we want over the next 10 years? And are you going to limit what he can do? Or are you only going to allow him to do what we provide to him and busted up concrete that we give him? Last question, what are you going to do to prevent erosion? If it's done such a great job to prevent erosion, now you're going to get rid of all that concrete. How are you going to make sure there's no erosion at the airport? So these are just some what I think are good questions. Thank you.
Let me address part of that with facts. First of all, it's been identified that CCEQ has looked at it, looked at the particulates and everything else, and we meet their requirements. So I'm not concerned there. As far as getting rid of that concrete up there, that is part of about a $10 million environmental improvement that we've been asked to do at the north end of the airport. It also involves looking at a lot of the irrigation and how it goes out so that we don't cause problems at the airport. So this is one factor of that. And he's a contractor working for the city, so him working for other cities and things like that, they would have to come through the council to do that. All right, next item. Anybody else have any questions on that, Carol?
No.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Does anybody on the council have a question? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment to accept the $200,000 from L3 Harris. All right, Jerry?
Tim.
Did you? Okay, Tim. Thank you. Please vote. Okay, pass 7-0. Thank you. All right, 6B, consideration and action on an ordinance authorizing a conditional use permit prepackaged liquor retail store. Steve?
This will be the second one that we're asking for this month for a conditional use permit for a retail liquor store. This particular location is in the Town South Shopping Center. Be fairly close to the Planet Fitness. You can see it up on the deal. It's a smaller store, 3,000 square foot. It's called the Fossil Creek. The owner, he's here to talk also. He has 13 stores in Texas, just finished one in Sherman. It is a smaller type store. Fits all the criteria of the ordinance that we adopted a while back. I sent out 24 property owner letters. Out of that, I got one back, which was in favor of. I didn't get any opposed, and I had one came back by mail. I took this item to Planning and Zoning Commission last night, and they recommended approval of it by a vote of 5-2. I'm sorry.
Anybody on the council have a question for Steve? All right, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
This time, I'll open it up to public hearing. Carol, do we have anybody wish to speak?
No.
All right, I will close the public hearing. Does council have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. All right, Kristen. Al. Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. You do a good imitation there, Summer. Item 6C, consideration action on an ordinance authorizing a conditional use permit prepackaged liquor retail store. Steve?
Yes, sir. This is another one for a retail packaged liquor store. This is actually in the old Fancy Candy off of Wellington Street. I'm sure a lot of y'all are familiar with that location. He's seeking the same thing as we do the others. There's a couple of things I wanted to bring out to council about this one. It's a little different. TABC rules require that a liquor store, there's two different ways of measuring. One, from a school or a daycare center, is measured 300-foot property line to property line. Churches and other things are door to door, so it's a different measurement. But in this particular case, the church right around the corner on Langford has a daycare center. We just got through inspecting it. The fire marshal inspected and health. It's good to go. I went out and measured it myself. It's 242 foot to the property line, so it does too close according to TABC rules. When we wrote the ordinance for the, we did put a place in there for distance requirement that a variance could be issued. I personally don't recommend that. I just think it's a bad situation right there. There's very limited parking with it, and the other thing that really came across me is on three sides of it there's houses, and there's a lot of new homes that were built there that are part of Project Restore and in the tax sale lots that we're building. You know, I have a little concern. It's a little different than the other two in that there's a lot of residential around it. I also sent out letters on this one. I sent 19 letters out, and this is pretty impressive to me. I got one back in favor of it. I got 7 back that were opposed to it, and I got 4 phone calls or emails from neighbors around there that were also opposed to it. I didn't get any back through the mail. This doesn't seem like the right place to me. I took it to planning and zoning last night, and they recommended denial of it by a unanimous vote of the petitions.
Okay. Any questions for Steve? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
This time, I'll open the public hearing on item 6C. Carol?
No one.
No one. All right. We'll close the public hearing. I'll entertain any questions the council has. All right. Okay.
Before we vote, I think regardless of how this vote turns out, if there's a conflict between ordinance and TABC rules, back and look at our ordinance. So if we're forward moving with us to provide a variance, why did it come forward?
I think that a variance is allowed in the TABC rules, was my understanding when Daniel helped us write that up.
Okay, thank you. I'll move to disapprove.
All right,
Second.
Al for disapproval.
Second.
Cedric. All right, if you vote to approve, it would be you're approving the disapproval. So a yes vote says you are voting to disapprove the request. So please vote.
Mayor, I'm abstaining because I have a prior relationship with this applicant, I mean, as a client, so
Okay.
Tim said
nothing relating to this.
All right. So it passes 6-0-1, and Brent has abstained. All right, so that motion's been disapproved. All right, that ends a public hearing. Next is public testimony. Public testimony occurs when citizens are invited to address the council on topics already on the agenda. Speakers will be invited to speak at the time of the council discussion for the item. Please give the city secretary your comment card prior to the meeting. I hope you've already done that, and speakers will be limited to 2 minutes for each item. First item, item 7A, consideration and action on an ordinance ordering a general election for the purpose of electing members of the Greenville City Council, place 5, 6, and 7, 7 being for the mayor, and ordering a special election for an unexpired term for place 1, and that's because Mr. Ransom has filed to run for mayor, and he still has a year left on his term, so there will be a special election to fulfill that. If he wins, he becomes mayor. If he loses, he loses his seat as a council member. Do we have any requests for public testimony on that? Okay. Does any council member have any questions on that or suggestions? All right. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move for approval.
I second.
Okay, Brent. Christian. Please vote. And it passes 7-0. All right. Item 8A, resolution. Consideration on an action on a resolution directing the city manager to continue to take appropriate measures to contain and prevent the spread of COVID-19 for the health, safety, and welfare of the community and its citizens. Summer?
I don't have any changes or updates. There's been no updates to the governor's orders that has been brought forward, so we'll continue to operate our facilities like we're operating, mainly by appointment, and we'll extend that through the month of March, and we'll come back to you guys before the end of March to reevaluate that at that time.
All right. Does anybody, any public testimony requested on this? All right.
Are there any, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are there any markers that we're looking for to, hey, when it gets to this point, we'll know we can open, or is anything objective, or are we just kind of?
No, I mean, there's not a number that we're kind of looking at. I mean, we kind of follow, you know, where we're at in the county. So we kind of evaluate what the county releases. Also, you know, for us internally looking at staff, where we're at at a staffing standpoint from our departments, because we've had a few of our departments that we've had to, you know, on a case-by-case basis. So we're really kind of just taking it on a case-by-case and following kind of the lead of the county as far as hospitalizations and those kind of things. And, you know, everything's such a moving target. You don't really know, you know, we don't really know where the immunizations are going as well. So that's kind of why we wanted to do it, you know, a couple months at a time. If something changes, we certainly put it on every agenda. So if that changes at that point, but I mean, I couldn't give you a specific number that says when we hit this, then we'll look at it. So we're just kind of, you know, playing it by ear pretty much.
Okay.
Just as a addition to that, I was at the Chamber of Commerce board meeting this morning, and Rich Carter, the CEO at the hospital, spoke about the COVID, and really we're considered in a large group of the North Texas counties, and he says that the trend of the number of cases is starting to come down because they've seen what they're hoping was the spike from New Year's, but they don't know that for a fact. But they're seeing that the number of people is coming down, but it's not a great drop, and the hospital still has an excess number of people in there with COVID, so it's still a very high case. In the case of the reports that I've gotten from the Hunt County Health Office through their report that I put out, we've had cases not long ago where it was 100 people, new cases a day. And I'm happy to say that over the last 3 reports that I've gotten information on and put that out, it's averaged out about 35 people a day. So we're seeing a lowering, but we're still very high. So we've got to maintain that. The other thing is in today's paper, for those of you that are in the 1B category, there's a couple of websites there to sign up to get your name on the waiting list to get your shots. The hospital last Friday with the hospital and Wesley United Methodist Church, the police department, our fire department, the sheriff's department, all got together and did a shot routine out there. It was a drive-through. The reports that I got from numerous people is that it went very smooth, very professional, and it was really great because everybody stayed in their car. It was orchestrated and well done. Mr. Carter identified that they will be doing more shots that way, and I hope that we can continue to get more vaccine in so that they can do more people. And right now, he said they've got about 5,000 people on the waiting list, and as they get shots in, they will notify people. You know, if they get 300 doses in, they'll take the top 3 in that list of 500, and they'll call them and say, here's your appointment at what time to show. And then when they get the next batch, they'll take the next group, etc. So if you're in the 1B category, that's a good source to look at the web pages that were identified in today's Herald Banner. At this time, I'll entertain do we have anybody that wishes to speak on this? All right, I will entertain a motion to approve to extend this out through March. Barry?
Second.
Cedric? And please vote. Okay, passes 7-0. Thank you. Next, we have the consent calendar. Carol?
City Council meeting minutes from January 12th. Ordinance authorizing the replacement of sections of the municipal building roof. Ordinance authorizing the purchase of a transfer pump for the water treatment plant and a split case pumps for the water treatment plant. Ordinance authorizing the city attorney to enter on behalf of the city an agreement with Jeffrey L. Moore with Brown and Hoffmeister.
Do we have anybody that's filed for a public testimony on any item?
No.
Does anybody on the council have any questions or concerns about any of the items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar. Al?
Second.
Cedric?
Yeah.
Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. All right, we're down to the city staff, city council report. First item is our December financials. Alia?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This will be financials as of December 31st, 2020, at which point we are 25% through the fiscal year. In the general fund, as of December 31st, revenues are in at 8.1 million or 31% of expected collections. And expenditures are in at 6.7 million or 24% of budgeted expectations, which is normal for that point in the year. We're starting to see more of our property taxes start to come in. You can see the revenue, property tax makes up the largest portion of that at the end of December, and then expenditures, public safety is making up the largest portion of that. Sales tax year to date through December, collections are up 193,000 or 9.47% compared to the year to date December of 2019, same time previous year. Down at the bottom, you can see where that would put our total actual sales tax for 2020-2021, which is just over 2 million, and then the remaining that we would need to collect to meet the target, which is about 5.8 million. This chart is showing sales tax versus our comparison cities, and this is the city-only portion. which was $655,000 remitted for the month of December versus the year-to-date number, which is an increase of 5.22% compared to the month of December for 2019. Again, this is actually October sales that are reported in November, and then we finally get them in December. Looking at the history of December sales tax, this is showing the net payment that the city receives. So you can see we've been on a steady climb for December for the last few years. Water and sewer fund revenues through December are about $3.3 million or 23% of budgeted expectations. And hotel motel tax was interesting in December. We're actually up 15% compared to December of the previous year. So obviously, still kind of as a total, if you look at the whole
That's
year.
kind of strange, seeing as how they say we don't have anybody staying in the hotel, but yet tax is higher than it's been for the last 2 years.
Definitely. If you look at the trend line, traditionally we've seen a bit of a dip in December, and this year we were actually up. I have no explanation for you, but that's a good thing. So, any questions?
Anybody have any questions for?
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. All right, next we have the Board of Development quarterly financials. Greg?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is our first quarter financial report 2021. Just want to let you know that the juice budget revenue side, we are 30% of budget. We're down 18% from last year, though, for our juice fund. Our sales tax is up about 30% on budget, but we're up 9% over last year, so that's good. Expenses, we're running about normal, 23.9, 24% for GBOD and about 17% for the 4A Corp. Marketing, with COVID, we've only spent about 5.28% of our budget on that. A large portion of that will be if we get to do the Bob Wills Fiddle Festival this year. Hopefully we do in October, November. About 5% has been spent to date for business development and project commitments. We do have, we'll be paying for the Industrial Drive extension, as you know, for project, the North Texas Cold Storage Project. About $450,000, which is the big number on all of that. But overall, it's just normal routine, sir.
Anybody have any questions for him?
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
I wonder if staff could provide that report, that spreadsheet to the council.
It's in your packet.
It is? I couldn't find it. Okay. It's already there.
I think it's the last page.
Very end? Okay.
Matter of fact, it's on page 129.
I didn't get that far.
So the answer to your question is yes, the staff can provide it to us. All right, any other questions on that? Item 11, City Council discussion proposed agenda items. Anybody have anything they would like to have considered for an agenda item?
Can we bring back the agenda item that they have the petition going for 6B for the specs?
Say again.
Can we bring back the agenda item from last City Council?
I'll put it down as proposed. Pardon me?
A member of the prevailing side can bring it back.
Okay, at the next meeting.
Correct.
Okay. Any other? Okay. Moving.
That was a unanimous vote, which means anybody can bring it back. So it means it's on the next agenda.
Yes.
All right, next item, item 12, Board and Commission minutes. We've got the Board of Development minutes for December 15th. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay. I think we've completed all of our executive session. So at this point, it is 6:52, and I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much for attending.
The recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. 455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right part to keep your vehicle running. And backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.